looks like my camera got pinched in like a door. So it looks like it's got a short in it now. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to buy a new cable for Christmas. But anyway, I'll keep this going until I shut off, and then hopefully you can still hear me and I can share my screen.
Yep.
Welcome to our Elementor Santa Clarita Valley meetup. Santa Clarita is in Southern California, for those that don't know. This is our holiday meetup. Since it's virtual and unfortunately it's not in person, I would have baked some cookies or something for everyone, but instead we've all shared a little bit of our holiday music list. Or I'm eating sugar cookies and drinking tea myself to sort of get ready for the holidays. I'm sort of a bah humbug, actually. I don't really celebrate. I usually try to do stuff for other folks, so I'm not really big into that. In terms of our meetup, here are the meetup notes. Generally, it's between 1 and 2 hours. We always keep it friendly. We're gonna, if during the presentation, you can chime in at break points, but if you can, mute your mic. And then this is gonna be recorded as well if you have an issue with that. There's a link to Elementor Legal. We record it because it'll be a resource for folks to look at later. Like we have a few members in our community that can't make it on Saturday sometimes, and they always ask for the video. And the video will be on our meetup page as well. We did our introductions. We talked a little bit about what we do with Elementor. I'm always interested to find out what everyone wants to do with Elementor or what they currently are doing, because so many people use different things to make their Elementor setup work. Like for instance, the Crockle block mentioned that Lynn talked about today was an interesting find. So I'm always looking for that kind of stuff. I know in the project that I'm showing you, one of the current roadblocks is that I'm not really finding a mega meetup plugin or a way to do a mega menu in Elementor that's that easy, or that doesn't really slow the site down quite a bit. So we all find solutions to our Elementor problems, and hopefully at this meetup we can sort of share some of that stuff. I can tell you a little bit about myself. My name, again, is Joe Simpson. I work for Metro in Los Angeles. We're a public transit agency. I run our WordPress blog network, and I'm part of a digital strategy team. We have about 15 or so websites that are in WordPress, including, we have sort of a news arm that covers our agency, sort of like the LA Times covers City Hall kind of thing. We have a board of directors that's made up of politicians as well as our CEO. So one of our blogs is dedicated just to writing 5 to 7 stories every day about what's going on with the agency. So it's a very active and very popular WordPress blog. When I'm not doing that, I'm very active in the WordPress community. I've been at Metro for almost 30 years. Originally, I started as a graphic designer. A couple of folks mentioned earlier that that's been their path. That was mine too. I was the technical person in our graphic design group, and it's not a badge of honor, but I was the person that turned our print stuff into the digital sphere. So that shows you that I'm pretty old. So I did our first digital logo kind of things, and I always wanted to do animation and things like that. So I just naturally gravitated to the web. And I've been active in the WordPress community, really active over the past 3 years. And I started a couple of meetups because I want to learn. And these meetups are always like how-to, hands-on kind of things. So today I'm going to sort of walk you through something that we're doing at work, and something that is a feature that in Elementor that I like quite a bit, which is how you can create a design system. We have a very mature brand that was done by our graphic design group, and they're very big sticklers about everything. And if you've worked with designers, or if you've had to work from someone else's design, these tools in Elementor can help you solve that. So I'm going to try to walk you through what I did on this project, and hopefully again, we'll learn something together. And then we'll talk a little bit about, we can open the floor up. We can talk about what you're working on, or if you're having any issues, if we have time, and then we'll talk a little about what's going to happen in January. I always start by providing lots of resources. The Elementor blog is a great way to stay up to date with all that Elementor is doing. If you've been with Elementor a long time, you know that they're always upgrading this product. They've had so many major releases this year. They just released the Elementor Cloud Beta, I think in the last couple of weeks. They're sort of taking control of the entire process. Now, I guess with the Elementor Cloud Beta, you're going to be able to spin up a site and everything and do all your domain work within Elementor. So that it seems like they're going after some of the hosting, they're going to be an all-in-one solution kind of thing. So that just released recently. They've done Elementor Pro version 3, so many different things this year. So the blog is a great place to catch up on that kind of stuff. Also, they have meetups all over. You can get an idea of what's going on, not just locally. I think the great thing about these meetups is that people are doing them all over. And if you have time, depending on what time of day it is, you can get up super early or super late and attend a meetup on a specific topic. So I found this year a lot of great meetups are doing all different subject matters, and we get people like Lynn came in from Dallas today. So it's really opened up opportunities for learning as well. Here's some of the links and resources that I sort of used to put together today's presentation. In terms of, I love the fact that Elementor has a great video channel, and they have a whole bunch of different playlists that are focused on different topics. And I sort of went through a topic, and I'll show you a screen of it. They have this series of, and they've just rebranded everything. So everything's all these solid, vivid colors, but it's a series of videos that are in green, and it walks you through building a portfolio site from start to finish, and it covers, global fonts, global colors, the design system. So it's a great resource. And all of these links, which are in the slide deck, I'll make available afterwards for people to download. So a lot of what we did today, or what I'm going to try to do today, was gleaned from these videos here. Yep. I'm having internet trouble today. All right. So again, these are some of the videos that we looked at, that I looked at for this. And again, this is the green series that I mentioned, building a portfolio site. And they talked about a lot of the things we're going to cover today. We're going to talk about how to install and activate Hello, using the theme builder in the site settings to sort of create to take a UI toolkit or an existing design and bring it over into Elementor. And we're just going to try to get through that in the next hour or so. Again, here's some more YouTube resources. In addition to the Elementor page, there's a couple of folks that produce content quite often that are heavily followed in the community. Adam Pricer and Daryl Wilson are sort of, they're local guys. I think Adam's down in Orange County and Daryl's in Pasadena, and they do a lot of content on Elementor as well. And I've included links to their information. And then the great thing about the Elementor channel is that they've broken down their playlist into a number of different approaches. To me, what I hate about YouTube is that you'll look up a topic and you'll go to the video and there's no words. It's just, you're just watching somebody do it without any sound or some kind of odd music in the background. But Elementor does it in a number of different ways. They have what's called speed art, which is what I just described, where they just go through a topic and you can sort of watch what they do, or they have a master class where they really get involved in a topic and break it down quite a bit. And then they have a whole bunch of different tutorial styles. I showed you the green, their current green set. So these are all great resources as well for you to learn. All right, so let's get to the presentation. All right, like I mentioned, I work at Metro, and everyone should still see my screen. And give me a holler. I'm showing you our home page for our current website.
All good.
Okay, so unfortunately, this website does not exist in WordPress. And for those that know me, and especially know the genesis of this meetup and our other meetup, we had an evil lead developer. I call him Evil Doug. He wasn't a fan of WordPress. And so for the past 6 or 7 years, we've been going at it to try to, I've been trying to get him to adopt WordPress. We use a Django Python CMS, which is crappy. He built it from scratch, and it's sort of like your dad trying to build a house, and he doesn't really know how to build the house for people to live in, kind of thing. He may know how to build it, but not really make something that's functional. So our CMS is crappy. It's still really janky. So recently, I've convinced them to switch to WordPress. And part of it, the reason I started the Elementor Meetup was that I was comparing the three page builders, the three major page builders, Divi, Elementor, and Beaver Builder. And I was trying to, I was pitching the advantages of switching over to WordPress and specific using a page builder to sort of do a lot of these branded layouts. So we have a current site. We have it's got a mega menu. And like I said, this mega menu is driving me crazy. But there's so much information on our site that a mega menu was called for, but we're going to transition to something a lot lighter and something a lot simpler. So over the past year, I've been showing them the different tools. So what we're going to do today is we have, like I said, we have a very distinct brand. We have a couple of professional illustrators that do our illustrations, a team of photographers that shoot really good photos, but we're going to go through and try to replicate this design, but also with the focus on our UI toolkit. So let me go ahead and pull up our toolkit here. And again, this is the back end of this CMS. All right. So our current project manager worked with, we had a design intern at the time to build this UI toolkit, which is what they proposed to transition. Like our current CMS is crappy, so they said, hey, let's spruce up, use Bootstrap and create a design that's a little more cohesive as a possible stepping stone to doing something else with our website. So they went through, they created a lot of things based on branded colors. And I need to move this out a little bit. And it walks through the foundations of the toolkit, the typography used in the toolkit. So the reason I put this meetup together is that sometimes you'll receive something that's this detailed, and how do you translate that over? And before I get into that, I want to open it up to the audience. How do you normally get your site designs? Do you create them? Do you get them from someone else? And what's your current process? I'll open it up to the floor, and then I'll get back into this. Maybe you, Teresa, since you mentioned you do design, how do you, what's your process?
Well, I mean, my clients are generally small, very small businesses, so I'm usually doing everything. I have had almost always. That's the answer.
Yeah. What's your process? Do you work in Photoshop first and then you transition it, or do you work directly in the tool, or what's your process?
I mean, it's different each time depending on how much they want to, like development work they want to do from the outset. Sometimes I'll say, I'll just give them wireframes and maybe just a couple of rough ideas because they don't want to pay for full development, and then or a full design to begin with. Mm-hmm. And then I'll just show them something, and usually people take it. I mean, every once in a while they'll want to make some major changes, but for the most part, they like what they see and they go with it. That's usually what happens.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't mean to put you on the spot. Just asking.
Yeah, no. I mean, I'm thinking about it. I'm really thinking. No, it's not usually a whole lot of back and forth as far as design goes.
Okay. Anyone else want to jump in?
I'll jump in. You kind of described my process and like Teresa, is it Teresa?
Yeah.
Like Teresa, I start in Photoshop, I do wireframes, I do design and such, and then I map out every single page or, what would be a page template in Photoshop long before I ever open, Elementor and start building anything. I make the client, I shouldn't say I make the client. We get to a point where they sign off on every single page that I've done in Photoshop. Now, with that said, I'm one of my New Year's resolutions is to move over to Adobe XD and start doing things a little bit more in XD so that I can show them the page flow.
Mhm.
And then prior to starting in Elementor, I will set up what you just showed a minute ago, which was the all the type sizes. I go ahead and set all of that up in my Photoshop document. So I start with, pulling together what are my H1s, my H2s, my H3s, and really map all of that out. And then I go build that in Elementor before I ever start putting a page together. So I don't know if that kind of answers your flow question, but that's kind of how I do it.
Oh, that's perfect. And Sumner, you wanted to jump in and add something?
Well, we probably do it a little bit differently. Most of the sites we work on, we're remediating for accessibility. But there is many times we have to rebuild a site, or we still get clients that want brand new sites. But having been doing this for so many years, I have my own library of layouts that either we have built over the last few years that we know get great traffic, we know that are great in conversion, we're seeing client satisfaction, and then after talking to the client, getting a better understanding of what their goals are and what they want to achieve and their industry, I start by going to my own library, and then I go to recreating in Photoshop or, just opening the document that we have in the library and adding in something that is customized for that particular client before I show it to them. And so having that already in my library saves me a lot of time. And I already know how to work with it. So I already know how many pages I'm going to need. I already know how many blocks I'm going to need. I know what I'm going to have to ask the client for, because it's all in there. It's taken a long time to build that up, but I'm a real stickler about documentation and not repeating my efforts. So then once we have that figured out, we present it to the client in a wireframe in a lot of mock-ups, but it doesn't go to, we don't start building anything until they've looked at that and we've been able to cut and paste and move things around to their satisfaction. And then we open up, start building it.
Awesome.
So I only share that because I think a lot of the young web designers that I work with don't document their efforts. And so each new client is a whole new thought process instead of being able to capitalize on our own experience of, hey, I made a site for someone in that industry a year ago. What was it? How did I do it? What was my research? Why was it great? How much did I charge? And, save a lot of time.
I mean, I think that's a great point. I know one of the great things about using this tool for that type of solution is that this system, you can export it, you could pull it into a new site, tweak it for a new client, and you've done a lot of the footwork or legwork. Especially one of the things that they were being sticklers for is that they wanted to sort of match Bootstrap, which is how many folks know what Bootstrap is? Bootstrap is a visual library, and it has a distinct look and feel, and they wanted to match that. One of the pluses for Beaver Builder is that Bootstrap is built in. So I had to show them in Elementor, which I think the UI is a lot cleaner and a lot more intuitive, is we can replicate that inside of Elementor, and we could use it and export it and take it to different places. I know, Steve, you mentioned a couple of things about XD. I didn't know it was, I thought it was part of the cloud and you had to pay for it.
No, XD is free.
Oh, okay. That's great. Because
I mean, it is part of the Creative Cloud subscription. If you have a Creative Cloud subscription, yeah, it comes. But it also is free, so you can go and you can download a bunch of plugins right away to like make it for mobile, tablet, and computer, and so all the responsive stuff's there. And then, as Lynn was saying, you can actually drag, like if you have a button, you can drag the arrow over to like the other part of the page that's going to go to, and it can you can click right to the part, so it sees exactly. So you actually show, and when you give them the XD file, like the compiled file, it's like they're looking at their website, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I want to say XD allows you to put a cloud link, or you can get a link so that everyone can collaborate and such.
That's right. It goes to the it's saved in a cloud file, so you can actually tell when the client looked at it, and they can say they don't like that, and they can make a change if they want or whatever. It's really cool.
One,
Yeah,
I was going to say, let me say one real quick thing about
no, go ahead, take your time.
XD. This is probably 3 or 4 years ago, 2 to 4 years ago. I had a client who thought they needed, they initially thought it was like a 12-page site or something. And I used XD to allow them to compile their content because it was a complete startup. They didn't have their content ready. And I said, great, let me just set up XD. I'll give you your pages. You can start filling in the blanks. And as they were adding their content, I would go in and I'd go, oh, well, this obviously needs a link over to this page that explains all of these things. And so after we finished it, it was like, I don't know, like 80 or 100 pages. And it was mind boggling to them because they thought their site was 12 pages or so. And and it was just such a fantastic tool to let them begin to think through the content they needed, and then all of those associated or related pages. It was fantastic. And I've just not shied away from it. I've just been lazy and haven't jumped over to XD because I know Photoshop so well, and being an old designer, it's a comfort tool, but I am fast realizing that XD is probably going to be a better web developing tool for me to build those comps and layouts for the client, and then be a little closer to the development, things that I need. So that's kind of my 2021 job task, is to stop using. And frankly, I get so frustrated with Photoshop anyways, because
Right.
I get 15 pages in there and it just
Right.
starts bogging down and it gets
Right.
so slow. So yeah, and XD adding the element of letting the client see the page flow is fantastic. So
Yeah,
I
I
love
put the
XD.
link. I put the link to it up in the chat, and I put the 2 YouTube videos that I used in the past to bring myself up to date, and clients and people that work for me up to date on how to use it. But again, like she said, if you're not ready to spend some time doing it, because you end up pretty much like laying it all out, right? So it's like you go through, build the whole website in XD, and then you got to build it. Then you got to build it, right? So like Summer was saying, or maybe it was Teresa that was saying, if the person wants to pay for it, and generally, the smaller the business, the closer they are in their beginning phase, the less money they want to spend. And you don't have a lot of time, and then even if they spend a little bit of money, which isn't very much, they're bitching at you to get it done faster, and you're building it in this wireframe thing. When if they don't have a clue, you can do exactly what Teresa said and just pull out a theme somewhere, or if you got something saved, like Summer said, and like I said, like you were alluding to earlier, Joe, you build a site, you build an Elementor, you have a cool looking section of it or whatever, you save that as a little template, boom, and save it to your hard drive, and then you have it, just name it something, different. It's a JSON file, and then pull it up into your next site. It works great. So I don't usually go through all the XD trouble. I had to do it for this one medical thing we did in Thailand, but I don't do it often.
So Joe, I want to ask one quick question, if you don't mind. You said you researched Divi, Elementor, and Beaver Builder. I kind of hate Divi. I kind of tell clients here on Divi that I won't even help them. I won't work on their sites.
I was
I
gonna
hate it that much.
say, be careful. Sumner's
a Divi
uses
person.
Divi quite extensively.
I'm not, okay,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I gotta say, I'm a lifetime licensed with Divi. However, I understand all the problems with Divi. It's just that members of my team, because of the work we do, each one of us has to have a specialty. Otherwise, we're just, masters of none. So my specialty is really getting in to decide how to fix Divi. And I have someone else on my team that works with Elementor, somebody else total Gutenberg, somebody else, each one of us. So
That's fantastic.
I just will agree with you that Divi can be very problematic, but when you really get into it, for some clients, it is the easy solution. I want to learn more about Elementor because I have a feeling that's the same thing. In some ways it's problematic, but in other ways it's probably an easy solution for the client. So that's where learning about it is so important to me. So it's okay. You can badmouth Divi. I've done it several
I
times
apologize if I
myself.
offended, but no, one thing I will say, because and I'm obviously 100% Elementor, but one thing that's been very impressive to me about Elementor is in the past, I would, upon finishing a website, I would give a client what I call kind of a reference guide. And it is not a tutorial. It's just simply like, if you think you know what you can do, here's where you will find all those pieces and parts. So at least they're not poking around trying to find where to fix something or change something. And I have now gotten to a point where my clients don't even need that anymore. Elementor is just so user-friendly and so intuitive. But my real question, Joe, was in your research, I got off on the tangent of not liking Divi, but Beaver Builder, I mean, when it came out, how many years ago, 5 years ago or so, or longer, I thought it was going to be the one that took over the universe. What was your research? What did that lead you to? Because I may be not tuned into the right crowds, but I'm not hearing anything about Beaver Builder. I don't hear anyone who uses it.
Well, they have their community, and they have their Slack channels, and I met their head of marketing at WordCamp US, and that was sort of and I had him come in and talk to our group at our company and sort of walk me through it. And it seemed, like you said, when you saw, like, to me, the thing I don't like about Divi as a designer, it's purple, pinks, all these extra layers of everything. I just like a simple, clean interface. I'm going to do all the purple, pinks, and greens myself for my client. I don't need to see that in my user interface. So I feel like Divi has too many things going on visually, whereas Elementor is nice and simple. It reminds me more of like the Adobe tool set. Like when you're in Photoshop or Illustrator, there's a simple menu over here and you just interact with it. It's gray and you just jump in and out. And Elementor reminds me of that. I thought Beaver Builder was similar, but they're the smallest of the three. Like Divi is the biggest in the world, just because they've been around longer, and they have to me, the one-time fee is how they kill the other two. I mean, just having to pay for it once and having a lifetime license is a big deal. But I do think that Elementor, because they're doing the monthly, they're innovating a lot more and they're growing a lot faster. So I think their arc is like, whereas I think Beaver Builder sort of petered out because they're not growing fast enough.
Well, that was my question, because when they came out, I thought it was the next thing, but that's been a number of years ago, and I feel like they just never took off. So I was curious, when you were doing your research, what caused you to not consider Beaver Builder?
Well, like I said, I think it's good, but like I said, I think each person, I mean, it depends on how you work. Like everyone has sort of a toolbox that they use, and some people swear by Divi, some people swear by the other tools. I think Elementor is close. Like I started with the Adobe Cloud and I still use it quite a bit. And it just reminds me of that. And it's more intuitive. It allows me to think out what I need to do instead of trying to figure out how to navigate the tool. So that's just my own personal opinion. And I'm sure other folks have a different opinion. Hey, Oscar, welcome. I'll let you jump in and do a quick intro. Thanks for coming. I know you.
Hey, buddy, thank you very much. Hello, everybody. My name is Oscar Henao. I'm down in north of Miami, enjoying upper 70s weather. And I know many of you are not doing that. But I've been in Elementor for a long time. I mean, a long time is about 3 years. With WordPress about 10, and on the internet business for over 25. And that's basically it. Thank you very much for hosting this.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. Yeah. And by the way, I know at Sumner's Meetup, you held up your phone to show us the temperature. I don't think you're going to get a lot of people complain about the weather in the group today. I think Lynn, Dallas is usually warm. You get a little bit of cold, right? But generally it's warm all year round. Yeah.
We're having good weather, and I will say that Monday and Tuesday we're supposed to hit the low 70s with sunny days. It's just unbelievable. I couldn't be any happier.
Yeah, and we're still warming up here in Southern California, but it's getting cooler at night. That's the only difference. Our winters are a little cooler. All right, so let me get back into it. We've, to get you up to speed, we've been talking about sometimes you'll get, most of us will do the design for our clients ourselves, but I work at a large corporation and we have a graphic design team that built a brand, and they were really specific about the fonts, et cetera, et cetera. So we were provided, our lead project manager built this toolkit for us to use to build our current site, which isn't in WordPress, but we're in the process of moving it over. So I wanted to sort of walk through how Elementor can incorporate elements of this toolkit and allow you to build your own site with their design system tools. All right, so yeah, so they had quite a few things in terms of typography, et cetera, et cetera. So now let's go ahead and jump over into a site, unless there are any questions about what I've shown so far. All right. And again, I apologize. I had shoulder surgery, so navigating the mouse is kind of weird with my opposite hand. So I apologize in advance for that. All right. The tool that I'm going to show the site in today is Local by Flywheel. I don't know how many people stage their work before they push their client's work live, which is what you should do instead of cowboy coding. But I like Local. You can spin up a site. Let me see if, tell me if you can see this. I tried to share this this desktop.
Yep,
So,
we got it.
Yep.
See it.
so
We
can
got
you
it.
see it's a black
Yep.
screen for Elementor? Yeah, okay,
Yes.
it's Elementor, okay. So this is Local by Flywheel. You can spin up a site really quickly, put in information. If you're on Flywheel, which is a WP Engine company, you can push it up to your site once it's done. But the thing that I like about this, and I'm not sure if MAMP does it or WAMP, but you can share a live link here down at the bottom, and you could share that with one of your clients from your desktop. So that's, I'm not sure if MAMP can do that, and I'm sure they probably changed their system, but this is so easy that I sort of like.
It's not as easy as that.
Yeah, I was like, Local is, and it's free. They'll try to upsell you, but this is a great way to stage if you're
Wait, all this is free, not like, because you can't do it in just regular MAMP. You got to use MAMP Pro to, I mean, I have MAMP Pro, but this is free?
Yeah, Local. Yeah, Local's free. Well, like I said, I guess they have a pro version, which does a lot more. You don't really need it to do the basic stuff. So for this demo, I spun up this site, Elementor SCV. Let's go ahead and jump in. I've gone in ahead of time because I didn't want to share my license information with everyone. And I've installed Elementor and Elementor Pro, which we'll need for this demo. And I'm just going to go ahead and connect and activate it. And I have an expert license, so I think that gives you up to 1,000 sites. And we talked a little bit about the differences between the tools. Elementor and Beaver Builder have a yearly or monthly plan, whereas Divi, if you pay once, you have it forever. But again, I like the fact that Elementor is always upgrading and changing their product based on user input. All right, so that's all set. So what you want to do is, once you have that installed, there's also a theme that I recommend, that I work with. Elementor has its own theme called Hello. Oops, let's go, sorry, go add new. And you can find it under popular, under the filters. It's here. And this is, they brag that this is the fastest, one of the fastest themes out there. And actually, it is pretty quick. I was working on a project with Sumner and a team of WordPress builders, and I did a speed test of some of the themes that we wanted to use, and it was one of the faster ones. So it's lightweight, and basically it's a blank slate, and you can build all the pages. What the page builders often do, and Elementor can do as well, is you can pick a theme, and you could build customized pages based on that theme's architecture and CSS. But Hello is sort of giving you a blank slate to work with. If you have Elementor Pro, they also have a number of different themes that are available with the Pro license that you could start with as well. So it's not like you're just starting empty, but if you know what you want visually, like in this case, we sort of know what we want, you can install and activate that. All right, so once that's activated and your Pro is up and running, let's get started. All right, we're gonna start. Let's create a new page. And we're just gonna call this home. All right. So let's go. I'm gonna have to do 2 at a time, but this is the basic Elementor interface for those that haven't used it before. And like I said, what I really like is that it's simple. It's off to the side. Beaver Builder is similar, and I'm sure Divi, you work in on the screen as well. But I like the fact that it's all the tools are here. You can do a search for the different widgets and drag and drop onto your screen. I also recommend using the navigator. The navigator is similar to the layers tab if you're a Photoshop user, and it shows you the layers of your design, which is helpful sometimes when you need to quickly locate something. The first thing we need to do is go to settings, and then I choose Elementor full width canvas. What that means is that, and you'll get a quick tip once you select the different items. This means that the header and footer are gonna appear on every page that uses as template. The canvas it has no header or footer. It's just what you build on this page. And then the default is if you're working with another theme, you could leave it on that. So for the purposes of this, we're gonna go with Elementor full width. And again, my mouse is acting weird. Make sure we got that, okay. All right, one thing that you can do also, if you need to hide the title, you can do it that way. Sometimes you don't, for example, you don't want home to appear, but you want it to appear in your code, you can have that there. You can set your feature image, et cetera, et cetera. But what I wanted to show you here is what we're gonna talk about today. So these two, the theme builder and the site settings, control the global design. Once you click on design system, you have the ability to set a lot of things about your site in advance that will be your global elements. And the great thing about this is, and we'll talk about it a little as we go, say for instance, you lay something out, you choose a primary and a secondary font, and then the client says, oh, I don't like that, I want to use something fancier. You can come back into your global settings here and change it, and your site will automatically update on the fly. So let's go ahead and walk through some of these settings. Let's start with layout. This will control the page width. And again, this dictates your entire site. And for our site, metro.net, it is 1360. And I'll show you, let me just quickly jump back over. And again, with all these things hanging over the screen, it's kind of hard. Let me pull up a new tab. All right, oops. All right, and for those, and everyone seems very experienced, but a quick way, and one of the things that wasn't in the toolkit were things like this. So how do you find out what the page width is quickly and easily? If you right click and go inspect, it pulls up the inspector tab, and you click on the tool here, and you can hover and you could see. I use, I think this is the Google accessibility plugin or the Axe plugin, but it pops up when you hover over it. It gives you a quick summary of what it's hovering over, and it tells you the width. So 1360 is what we have. It also tells you the padding and things of that nature. So it's easy to pick it up from your page. Again, especially if you're mimicking the site or you're mimicking the theme, you can come in quickly and get that information. So let's jump back over into the Elementor. All right, so we know we want 1360. The widget spacing also is in the UI Toolkit. And again, I have to sort of dig to find that stuff. I think it's on another tab. But for the purposes of time, I'll just put in space. And again, this is great because if you know that you want the widget, all your widgets to be spaced out a certain amount, I think it's 30. Oops. You can enter that. So you have a lot of control over that as well. You can also get crazy and change what you want some of the standard selectors to be. And then we go ahead and let's jump back. Let's update that. Let's jump back here. So that sets it for the entire site. Then you could walk through your colors. It gives you 4 out of the box. Again, most people work in systems, so it's great. I know with Metro, for example, on our color page, and I'm jumping back and forth. I think our black is 222. And again, I apologize for if I had my right hand, I could probably work a lot faster. I think it's on the welcome page. Okay, and it looks like we didn't do that. All right, so I know it's 222. So the primary color, you can come in. And we'll see how this ties in later. Our system is pretty basic, but we have a gray. I think our gray is just the, oops. Right, and you can go in and specify these, the colors. Again, this is 222. But sometimes these colors get a lot crazier. And then we have all of our bus lines, our train lines. And so I went in and on our regular site, and I went in and added all of these colors that are in this kit here that aren't specified here. I'll show you where actually this is a more current representation. This is a tool that we provide to our vendors that do work for us. And again, it talks about our whole system. So for instance, on color, these are all colors that are part of our system. So for example, so I'm going to go through and add a few of these. And then you can also, you can highlight it and change it. So this is our blue line color. So you can be very specific so that especially if you're working on a team and other folks on the team need to access this information, or someone that's not familiar with it, you should be as, you should define as much as possible to leave less to chance. So anyway, I would go through and add all the colors. Then we go back. And then part of most systems is that you generally have and again, we do it at Metro, but we have very specific uses for, we have a sans serif and a serif, but all of our print materials are all in a serif. But most folks will have maybe a pair of fonts, that you use, one for the headlines and one for the body copy. And you can come in and select that here. With Elementor, a great thing, Google Fonts is included. But let's say, and on our system, we use Open Sans. And that's our web font. But our brand, they use a font shop, Adobe font. So how would you incorporate an Adobe font into your system? Let's go ahead and let's just update this, and I'll go back. We're going to jump out of here for a second and go back into our dashboard. Oh, actually, I'm going to user preferences. All right, so under the integrations tab, there's a number of things, and this is another nicety. And again, I'm not sure, like I haven't really been in Beaver Builder and Divi in the last 6 months, so I don't know if they've updated this. But if you use a lot of, they have integrations for a lot of third-party tools that you may find useful. You can integrate CAPTCHA, Facebook, MailChimp, ActiveCampaign, like we use ActiveCampaign in our company. If you had your API key, which we do here, I could just add that, and then automatically when you build a form, you could tie it into ActiveCampaign simply. So that's a great thing. But also down here, there's one for Adobe Fonts. So if you use the Adobe family, and one of the reasons why we're shifting to WordPress and we're shifting away from Adobe Typekits is that our site is pretty popular, and Adobe will charge you if you have over 1 million views. They start to charge you for the font. So we were at that ceiling, and we didn't want to pay a monthly fee. But to show you how simple it is, you would just you would create a kit in Adobe and enter your project ID. And then if we jump back over into Elementor, so if we jump back into our site settings and go to our global fonts, so say we want our secondary font to be our branded font. Now when you come back, scroll to the top, it usually adds it at the very top. We have our 2 Adobe fonts. So it's really simple to incorporate Adobe fonts that way. And then we could, if we go back to our toolkit, I think our font is 16 pixels. I mean, 16 pixels. You can go through and specify the weight and font. And I think it's just 400. For that, you can do your line heights. Our line heights are 1.5. And then you can do letter spacing. And so you would walk through each one, and you can rename them. I'm just going to call that body. We can call this headlines. Oops. So again, you can customize it to your team so that everybody knows common terminology for what you're using in your kit. And then you would just go through and specify it for each thing here. And I'm going to make this our subheads. So again, all these things are in my memory, but I would go back and forth to the toolkit and pull all these things out. Actually, let me just. And then let's go ahead and update that. I don't think we can, yeah. We'll do this one open. This will be our italics. And you would go through again. You could do like some of the things in our kit are all caps. I mean, you have a lot of control here at the top level to do that. All right. All right, and then you can get even more specific. Our buttons are handled a certain way. You can specify, like we use the bootstrap button style, so you can come in and specify all of that. Let me go back here. So for our body copy, we know that we want to use, we can color it. So you come in and you select the text color. So we know we want it to be text. And then the typography, we know that we want it to be body. And then you could specify the size. It takes the size from the body that we've already created unless we didn't. And then the great thing, you can also come in and specify it here, or you can create a new style here. If you need to go back and add more, you can always jump back and add more that way. Right. And then you could also specify your links. Our links are a specific color. It's our blue line color. We keep that with body. And then we have an underline on hover, and for accessibility reasons, when we go to WordPress, we're going to switch that. So we want it to be underlined on all the time. So here you can, we chose body for that, and then you go here and you could say, oops, yeah, underline. So that means all of our links are going to have an underline. And then on hover, we can go back in, and we don't want underline. So you specify all that here, and then we'll go in and take a look at a couple pages, and then we'll make a change so that you can see that it's dynamically updated. And then we would just walk through each of our H1, H2, H3s, and we'll do the same thing. Let's go pull up our UI Toolkit, and I'm going to try to do them side by side. So hopefully that won't impact how you're seeing this. So let me know if you can't really see things. Are there any questions as I'm going here? Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
I found that if I set the size, this feels like a dumb question, but if I set the size for H1, for instance, then later I want to use H1 in the page, but I can't, it doesn't let me change the size. For instance, if I wanted to use H1 for, you know, accessibility reasons, I want to keep it as an H1, but I want it to be a different size in this particular instance. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think once you've created, if you have it on the page, I think you can always override it.
Really? Why am I having trouble with that, I wonder?
Well, we'll try to do it once we get into a page.
Okay.
So, but I think any of these that you create and you pull them in, you could always update it, or you can create a new style based on what you create at that point too.
I don't know why I have trouble with that then.
Are you saying you want to change the size of H1 on each different page?
No, just on like one particular page. I want to keep something as an H1, but I want to change the size of it.
Yeah.
So then on another page, the font would be a different size.
It would go back to the default H1.
That's a break in accessibility.
Is it?
Yeah, you need consistency.
Hmm.
And that's where this that Joe is showing is very helpful, because if you want your site to be consistent from page to page to page, so that conceptually people know that is always the H1, then these settings help you do that.
Right, so I'm going through now and I have them side by side, and I usually work on two monitors. So hopefully everyone can see. So for our H1s, it's 32 over 50 with 0 leading. So you can come in here. We want it to be a header. Let me type in 50. And then it's, like I said, it's just, it's just a little bit of, but I mean, actually it's great because a lot of this stuff when we're designing it, oops, I'm sorry, it's 3250. We usually design it on the fly, but again, if you do it all up front and you have everything that you could just plug in, then it's just a matter of laying out your pages and laying out your design. Right. And then you just work your way through. So H2, we're going to keep it the same. Okay, that one is regular. So, and now that I see this, I would have sort of named my global styles a little differently. I would have probably called it regular, bold, that way. But again, this is all up to you as the designer. So we'll go through our H2s, should be 28. Regular, oh, and I know I didn't do it bold. All right, 28, 36. And then you would just work your way through all of them. So again, we would do each of these because it goes down to H6. We would take all of this information that's already been predefined for us and plug it in to the global site settings and just hit update when we're ready to move on. Let's go ahead and take a look at our buttons really quickly. right? And as you can see, these are all the bootstrap styles. So on our site, for the majority of what we do, because most of our users can't really use our CMS and specify the styles of buttons, or they don't know how to call a call a class, which is over the head of a basic editor. Most of our buttons are the primary. So we'll just set it up as primary. So for the button, we'll just select body. And we don't want a text shadow. The thing I don't like this about Elementor, that it usually gives you a shadow even though you don't want one as a default. So just go ahead and open that up. You can just clear it here. And then I pull that over to clear that out. Then let's take a look also. It looks like when you hover, it gets darker. So you can do that all at the global level. So normal, we want the text color to be white. Oops, I didn't let, so we can add a color here. All right, so for the text color, we just want white. For the background color, we want our blue. It looks like it has a border radius. Let's just give it 2. And again, it should tell us, and I would have to go over to the Bootstrap reference page to grab all that stuff because we based our buttons on that. Then also, since some of these have borders, I would just specify a border and make it the same color. And then that way we can pick it up when we transition it to other items. Then for the buttons, I would, again, I'm just adding these in because I don't want to take up your time going over to Bootstrap and locking that in, but I think it's 2 to 1 in terms of side to top. So I would add the padding in. So you have control over all that at the global level. And then, like we talked about, Teresa, you could still override this. So for example, we can style the button similar to what else is in our toolkit also. And then we want to do the hover. Let's add a color. And I would specify it based on our toolkit or the Bootstrap information. So let's just pick a darker blue. And again, I'm just winging this for the purpose of the time. All right, and then, yeah, so then, again, it's a lot of tedious work, but anyway, let's go ahead and save this and then we'll just jump onto a page real quick here. And then you can, and like I said, you can go through, you can specify the form fields, which was part of our toolkit. You can specify the images. If you wanted to treat images when you hover over them, they go to 80% opacity. You do all that here. You can add your borders. On our site, we don't really have borders on our images. But again, you have all that control in the site settings area, which makes it all global. And you walk through all of this information. You can also set your site identity. We can go ahead and do that at this level too. Let's just change it to and again, the site name and description is important for SEO purposes. And this helps build your SEO structure that your search engines can pick up on and populate. I'm going to use an SVG for our site logo. So you can go ahead and the first time that you, how many folks know what an SVG is? All right, it's a format that's gotten quite popular of late because it's based on a vector image, and it's super sharp and super crisp. So one thing in working with designers is that they always request SVGs because they say everything's blurry. So the first time you use it in Elementor, you have to enable it because it can, some SVG can contain malicious code. So you want to know the source that you get this SVG from. So in this case, I made it so I know it's good, but you have to enable it that first time. It's also in the Elementor settings where you can do that. So I pulled in a couple of logos. We'll go ahead and grab the SVG and insert that. And then you can also choose your fave icon. And a fave icon is what puts the logo in the tab in your browser, for those that don't know. And again, everyone probably knows that already. And that helps in terms of branding as well. So let's go ahead and choose our image for that. And they're generally 512 by 512. All right. Then let's go ahead and update that. And you can go through again. You can specify how your lightbox is open. When a lightbox opens, you have a lot of controls over whether the title is going to be shown, whether you want the caption. So again, I would set all this stuff up based on the UI Toolkit, pulling all that information in and creating a brand system. So all that will be pulled into the designs that we built. All right. So before I jump in, any questions on that? Oop, I don't hear you, Teresa. Oh, I thought you said something, Teresa. I didn't hear. Or no? You're good. Okay, good. All right. All right, so let's go ahead and we're gonna create a footer and a header, and then we're gonna take it from there. All right, so let's go to Theme Builder. And you have all these parts that come with the Theme Builder that's what they suggest are the basis for most sites. Most sites have a blog, so you would have a post and you can create different post types. You can assign them to specific categories. You can get that fine with it. And in our case, part of our rebuild in WordPress is they want 7 templates. We have 7 different visual looks. We have one for videos, one for a text only, one for a map page. And so we have to lay out all those different layouts. And so you could do all that here. And the great thing about the Theme Builder is that it shows you, as we build them, it's going to show you the pages with a preview, so that when someone else on your team is working on something or an editor needs to pull down a page, you can just simply create it based in here. So let's go ahead and do our header first. And generally you would just click on the plus here to add it or to add new here. But since we were already playing around with the page, we've got it here. All right, so let's take a quick look at our header. It's a black header with a basic menu. Let's go ahead and quickly build this. All right, you have a couple of ways you can build. These 2 items here are really the basis. If you have a template library, like I mentioned, all of these parts and all of these template pieces or widgets that we're going to build, if we had them existing already, you can click on this folder and it would take you to, when you have Pro, you have all these options for headers. You have, you could filter them based on what you need. Footers, portfolio. These are all things that are pre-built blocks or pieces that you could drag into your designs. It also has a number of pages for you to start with. And they also, if you notice, they're also put together in what they call kits. So you can also start with a pre-made layout, which has all those basic pages that we saw before. Or in our case, we're going to build templates and they're going to appear here. Or you can start from blank by just hitting close. And in the upper right of the menu I just closed, you can import a previous design into your template builder at that point as well, or you can save what you're working on. So when you click that off, you get this basic thing here. So we're just gonna create, let's look at the menu again. So it's a logo, the navigation menu, translate button, and a search item. And actually, yeah, let's do this really quickly. And then we're just gonna jump to a page, and then we're gonna affect the global styles and see how it affects our page. All right, so I'm gonna create a block with 3 items. Let me close the navigator. And again, automatically, it assigns it to 1350 because we set that globally, so we don't have to worry about that. Here, we're gonna go ahead and put in our site logo. We're gonna drop in our navigation menu, and we don't have a navigation menu right now, but over here on the left, it tells you that you don't have one, but we can go ahead and quickly create one by clicking on that link. We'll call it main menu. And let's quickly, I'll just build this here. And we'll just drop in some fake links just to show. And again, I would have, normally these links would have been connected to pages, but for the purposes of the demo, I'm just doing it on the fly from a scratch site. And I'm going to save that, and we're going to jump back over. All right, so we have our menu here, and then we also have a translate button. So let's go ahead and just add a button. And see, it pulls it in with the styling that we already created ahead of time. Then you can go ahead, and again, they did create, and I need to confirm, I don't know if it's based on Bootstrap, but they have the same tags that Bootstrap has. So for example, danger is a certain color, and that's in keeping with how Bootstrap handles it. So I just need to find out from Elementor if the Bootstrap is built in, but I don't think it is, but they put these same kind of tags. And as you can see, Teresa, so you can change, we dropped in a global element, and you could always change it here. So I think it's similar to what you were talking about. So I'm sure you can do it with your headings as well. Then we just want to put in the information. Oops, translate. You can add an icon. It has the, I don't think we, or you can also upload your own icons. Font Awesome is included in Elementor, which is awesome. You don't have to do any extra. And I think it's part of Beaver Builder as well. Is it part of Divi automatically, Sumner? Do you know offhand? Font Awesome?
It's in the new release.
Okay, awesome. Let's see if we have language. So it doesn't look like. Let's go language. Okay, we'll just use this one for the purposes. All right, so you can add an icon. You can let it know whether it needs to be ahead of, before, or after. In our case, we need it before. You could specify the spacing, and again, we would match what we had there. And then I think you can also specify the size of the icon. Oh, I think that's of the button. Let's just go small. All right, and then We need a search box as the last item. And then I'll have to touch it up later, but just for the purposes of the demo, let's go ahead and style this. Okay, so for the background, it's a primary color. Then we choose and we want these side by side. We want them inline, so you can come, oops, got it, into advanced, positioning, oops, inline. Okay. More space, there we go. All right, and then we want this box. So yes, again, this is a lot of stuff that you probably already know, but then we also want to make sure that these are all vertically aligned metal. And one thing you notice, and it's a bug in Elementor, is when you pull in an SVG, it comes in small. What I normally do is that instead of using a site logo, and let me go ahead and take that out, and you just right click and you can edit it this way. What I normally do, and I've reached out to customer support on this one, and this is sort of their workaround. I just drag in an image instead of the site logo, and then I add the SVG that way. And then it brings it in at the proper size, and you could link it that way. All right, then for this one, one good thing too is once you create a style, you can copy it and paste it. Oops. Oops. It took the width as well. All right. And then one thing we notice is that the hover is backwards, so I need to go in and fix that. Also, you can style how your navigation is going to work. We don't want it to have the classic underline. And we don't want the sub-menu indicator because we're going to build our own mega menu later. All right. Go ahead and publish it. Then you can tell Elementor where you want this menu to exist. On my current personal site, I have a dark menu on the homepage, but then on my blog post, I have a white menu. So you can create different menus. And until a recent feature, you were able to use ACF to dynamically tell it which menu to use, but I think they took that out with their 3.0 release recently. All right. So we want it to be on the entire site. You can add that condition. You can go in and do a lot more. You could tell it, hey, I want it on our singular pages. And then you could even be more specific and tell it which pages. So you can get really crazy with this, but it could get very confusing. So for the purpose of this, we're just going to do entire site. And you save that. And then let's go ahead. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention too is you probably want to specify your vertical height. And by vertical height, that's a minimum height that this menu is going to be in the layout. So I usually do the footer, the header, and the body. It has to equal to 100%. So let's go ahead and do that. And you do it under minimum height, under layout, and then we want vertical height. And I'm going to make that 10%. Update. And again, that's going to make sure that the page takes up the full width of the screen. sometimes, and this was one thing that I didn't know, I would create a layout and I wouldn't specify the vertical height, and then my page would end and then there would be some white space under the bottom, which looks very unprofessional. So the great thing about this tool is that you can specify all that. So let's go ahead and create a quick footer. And again, I apologize for sort of going slowly through this, but because most people already know this, but we'll get to the page in a second. Let's go ahead and just quickly do a footer. And are there any questions as we go here? All right.
No, Joe, actually, this is not going slow at all. I like it. Like, I think you're doing really good. Like, it's nice to see that I wasn't messing up. Like, it's good because I don't really have anybody to talk over this with. You know, it's not like every day I got a person sitting next to me. I mean, my people that work for me are throughout the world. You know, so this is great. Thanks.
Yeah, and I think one of the great thing, like when you look at someone doing a video, they usually blaze through it, and
right.
you find yourself stopping and going back and stopping and trying to work.
Right.
So hopefully I'm going slow enough. And like I said earlier, I think what I want to do, I'm going to take a few days off, and I think I may in January do like a 3-day block, like 3 consecutive days of meetups to build something from start to finish.
Yeah, like we talked about like in the summer.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think like 2 hours or 1 hour that I have still doesn't allow me to do it justice. And like
Great
I said,
idea.
Yeah, so hopefully I'm sort of walking it through. Okay.
Well, I mean, you know, you look at like the YouTube videos to like build a site with Elementor, they're 4 hours long.
Yep.
And I mean, the very first time I did one was like 3 years ago or something, and I followed that 4 hour one, that 4 hour long one, and it took me like 8 hours because I had to keep going back. So if you did like a 6 hour one, you know, like because you think you're going slow or whatever, I think you'd have more. You could publish that crap to YouTube and probably monetize it. Probably be all right.
Okay, cool. All right, so the footer, we're going to make it 20%, and then we're going to color it really quickly. And again, I'm just doing a really basic menu. Again, it takes the width that we already specified at the top of the demo. We want the color to be, do we have gray? We don't have it. Oh, here we go. We'll make it gray. Then let's go ahead and drag in some text. We're going to have a menu. And actually, let's make it, yeah, you can duplicate your columns as well. So let's go ahead and take that out. And we'll drag in. And again, you can have anything in the box, and we'll just, let's put an image. Just for the sake of having something in the. And again, you could specify how you want your layout to be. You can have a vertical menu, which is what you see in footer quite a bit. And again, you could specify this, and it goes back to what we mentioned, Teresa. So this menu could be styled totally different from the other one, and it would be unique because you have control over it once you put it in the page. If you make this element a global element, and this may be what your question was, if you make it a global element, then when you drop it on the page, you can't edit that. You have to edit it globally. So that may be what you're running into. Maybe you've created a global element, and in those you would have to edit the global element.
Or you have
when you use the style, and that's something that, oh, go ahead, see.
Yeah, or you can make it not a global element anymore.
Right. That's where it's confusing. Like this new design system is very new. Before, people would create the global elements and either make them global or strip out the global to go ahead and affect.
I think I've been doing it in style, but
so
if you choose a heading and bring it over and then change that and specify that you want it to be H1, then you can, I think it only happens with the headings.
Like I said, I think you can.
So then you've got your HTML tag, and then when you go to style, you can change the size.
Yeah,
yep.
So you can do it here. And then yeah, so if you go to
style,
style, you can, so see, it already has the global elements, and then you
yeah,
can go in and you could
change it.
Yeah,
and it changes, right? That's so
Yeah.
weird. I don't know. I don't know why that's happening.
All right, so yeah, so let's just go ahead and save this for the purposes of the demo. So we've done the header at 10% vertical height, the bottom at 20 vertical height, and so the rest is going to be 70% to fill out the page. And so that means when it's on a phone, or when it's on the tablet, or when it's on the desktop, it's going to take 100% of the screen real estate. Because I showed you our brand site, and this was done with Beaver Builder, and one of my dirty little secrets, and I'm about to move it over. Like this is on a headless, a Hardy Press instance, which makes it headless, which is a weird topic for another day. It doesn't do the thing at the bottom. So if I'm on a taller screen, I'm going to get some white at the bottom. So I didn't do the vertical height thing. So that's something I learned with Elementor here. So again, let's get back here. And let's go, we'll go ahead and publish that. And again, once you're ready to publish a footer, and again, when we use the Elementor full width, now every page is going to have the header and footer that uses that template. And then we want it to be on the entire site. And we're going to save that. So now, if we view the live site, we've got the header and footer on the page. All right, let's go back in and go back to the dashboard. And I've created a few, let's go ahead back to the theme builder, and let's create a simple page. All right, so now you can see we have 2 here, and I think the first time, so now it's generated a preview. Let's see, there you go. So it generates a preview. So the great thing is once you create your library of components or elements or widgets or whatever you want to call them, you'll be able to quickly come in. You can preview them, and you could drag them and drop them into your page if you're going to create a new template. All right, so now let's go ahead and create a single post. And again, it gives you, with Pro, it gives you all the samples, and it tells you in the top, because even if you have the free version of Elementor, the Elementor plugin, you'll still get these listed, but you can't access the ones that say Pro. And if you look through the list, I don't want to badmouth, but there's only a few that aren't Pro that are in this list. Let me see.
Are there any?
I was going to say, I mean, there's supposed to be a couple, but maybe
one.
Yeah, I think,
very top.
But like I said, it's very limited, the number of free ones that are in there. Let me see if it tells you. Oh.
No, you can't.
Yeah, it doesn't tell you. All right. So yeah, so again, it gives us a list of what we already have. If we like what we've created, you can export an individual template. You can export them all. But again, we're going to start with a blank page. It brings us to our Elementor full width page. So now let's go ahead and create our page. All right, we want it with 1 column. And then we'll start to build the page. Depending on what you're building, for instance, when you're on a single page versus a single post, what you see as choices changes. Again, it also shows you what your global elements are. We don't have any yet, but again, I stay in the design system. I don't really create a lot of global elements, but again, as I build out what we're doing for Metro.net, it's going to have a lot of widgets, and then we're going to have to make a decision. We actually want to lock in our design, so we may create them as global elements so that people can't go in and make changes on the page. But again, all of these things have to be hashed out, which is part of the fun of building a website. Like you decide on the exact process that you want the end users or your admin team or your developers or your designers to use. So the great thing about Elementor 2 is that you can specify user roles. Let me see if I can, let me show you that real quick. Okay, let me save it first. Oh, and let me just do this one quick thing before I go over. Also, you have in your control panel, again, this is why I like it, like everything is right here and it's open. One thing about Beaver Builder is that it's in the upper right-hand corner, but you have to click on it to open it up and see what your choices are. Like here, Elementor, all the things that you work on are at your fingertips here or in the navigator panel. You can design You design on the screen. You can do your mobile version. You can do your tablet version. You can do your desktop version. You can also preview the page, whatever you're working on. You can look at the settings. Also, you have a history of what you worked on in case you need to go back, in case you screwed something up, which we all do from time to time. You can put the navigator in. And again, that when you work on a lot of layers, if you do absolute positioning, I find that the navigator is invaluable because sometimes it's hard to click something based on where it's positioned, or it may be hidden, or you may not see the guides. Or you have the settings, which we talked about earlier, where you can specify the title of the page, and we can call this a single post. And again, in our case, I'm going to say layout 1, layout 2, map layout, or based on what our design system is going to be. All right, so let's go ahead and let's see if we can jump over to settings. Oh, let's save this. And then we'll jump over. You want to make sure that these are checked also. This will override the standard settings that Elementor sets. And I think I forgot why I came over here. Here is where you control your SVG. Also, you can specify more things about Font Awesome and its usage. But again, I wouldn't touch any of that stuff. All right. Yeah, I don't remember why I came over. But anyway, let me go back. Any questions here? Let me go back to our page and we'll continue to build it. And then we'll take one final look at, we'll make a change to the global settings and see how it affects our page. All right. All right. So we've dragged a section onto the page, and now we want to build our site layout. So for this one, we don't want any column gaps. Oops, I think I know. Okay. And for this one, this is going to be our header image. And on our design, we have a very large hero image at the top. So that's what's going to go here. So let's go ahead and drop in a featured image. All right, and it pulls from the library or a post to sort of show you what it does. Then let's go ahead and our titles are also full width. So I'm going to go ahead, and you could see that we overrode the 1350. You always have the ability to still override that there. So let's jump in. We're going to drag in a heading. That's going to be our post title. Drop that in. And then one thing I didn't do, I didn't specify, it's always centered, and then it should be bold. So what we can go back in and do, we're going to go back in and change that in our global settings. Then we also have, let's just take another quick look at the page. I think there's a carousel that goes in here. We can drop that in now, but it's not on every page. What I would probably do, I think, and it would be ACF or something that controls the data. I would try to write a conditional to tell it, to allow people to drop it in, or it may be easier for someone to just drop in an element from our template library. All right, so underneath that, we have another section, but again, that section is 1350, which that is, and then we'll go ahead and drop in. Sometimes on our purple line page, for example, we have a poster excerpt that appears at the top of the page. So we'll drop that in. And then you could also specify information. You could have, this is good. And it actually, it's a good use of this is when in your footer, if you need the copyright, you can use post excerpt to add in the copyright before, and then you could put your company name or your privacy policy information in afterwards. All right, so we've gone in, we've added a post excerpt. Now we just need our post content. We're going to drop that in. And as you can see everything is sort of invisible. So let's pull up the navigator so we can see. So see, this allows you to highlight what you're working on there, and that sort of tells you where it's at. Let's go ahead and drop that on and see it dropped it in at the wrong spot. You could drag it in your navigator down to where you need it to be. Yep. Why isn't it letting me do that? That's weird. That's odd. So let me see if I could just drag and drop it in here in general. And if you hover over your section, you get a pencil and then you could drag it. Let's see if we can pull that down.
What happened, Joe?
It's not letting me put it in here for some reason. Let me
Oh, add text at the text widget there and just copy that and paste it in there. Yep. Then just cut the other stuff.
Yeah, and then I'll just edit it in the right back in the navigator. Thanks for that, Steve. I'll go
Bro.
Delete that. Oh, see, it still adds it in the wrong spot.
What are you trying to do? Just move this section above it if you have to.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not doing it. But anyway, we'll go ahead and I'll figure out what's going on there and I'll let you know.
Maybe if you save it and then reopen it, maybe it's caught in the cache.
Yeah. All right, I'll just flesh out the rest of the page and then we'll go from there. Okay, it looks like, so we're seeing the page now. Let's go ahead and publish. Well, before we do that, let's specify. Oh, what I did, yeah, I did it. It's weird, it's not letting me select things. All right, so we do want the vertical height. All right, okay, let's go ahead and publish. Okay, and when we add this one, you notice that what it tells you is a little different. Now it says we're going to include this on all the singular pages, and that means all the posts. You can specify pages as well, but we're going to leave it at all singular. You can actually exclude if there's pages that you don't want. So for instance, if you have a specific post or something that's a special page or a landing page, you can exclude it from having this as well. So it allows you a lot of flexibility to build lots of templates and use a lot of different things. All right, so let's go ahead and view this. All right. So it seems like, okay, so let's go in now, and this is kind of messy. Let's go in now and see if we could affect some of the design. Let's go. And we can see that there's a few issues. The font in the body is bold instead of regular. This title, for instance, is regular instead of bold. So let's go back over to our site settings and see if we can make a change. And also the client said, hey, I don't like our Scala font. I don't like the design studio. They can't tell me what to do. They're a bunch of a-holes. We want to change it to something else. So let's see. I'm going to do a quick search, and I did this yesterday. Google font decorative. And for the purpose of this, we say this person is a big fan of Old English festivals. So they want to use this font because they're a big Shakespeare fan. And this one looks very fancy. So we're going to substitute all of our headings. We're going to change from Scala Sans to Cinzel. All right, so let's go back in and do that. All right, so for the global fonts, we have header and we have it as Open Sans. So we want to quickly change that. We can paste in Cinzel decorative, and then it changes it, and it changes it all throughout the site. So you do it in one spot and it changes. So again, that's the great thing about the global settings, is that you can quickly go in and do that. All right. Let's say, I think our body is, why is it pulling? Let me just see what this is here. I'm going to update. Go back to the editor. Let's see. Oops. Okay, it shows. Oh, that's what it shows. Subhead for that, so we can change that here. We can also make sure. Okay, so let's say, for example, we want all the. Well, we need a link here as well. Let's make something a link. Ah. Okay. We're going to go back to the actual page and make some changes, and then we're going to see how we're going to make changes in the system to do that. All right, let's go ahead and build another page. All right, I'm going to quickly go in. It's a project. Let's pick a feature image. And let's go ahead and save that. Let's publish that. And then let's edit in Elementor. I pulled out some text into Grammarly, which I recommend for everyone if they're doing a lot of content for their clients. Grammarly is great because it tells you where you may be missing a lot of things in terms of punctuation that most people don't see. They have a desktop client as well. So let's go ahead and pull some of the copy that I pasted in already. This page had an excerpt. So let's go ahead and put that in. So we'll drop in the excerpt here. And then I think you can also do it in the settings tab. Let's go ahead. Go back and grab some more copy.
Pretty impressed you're doing all this with your left hand.
I know, and like I said, I'm kind of scrambling because I usually use my left hand. I mean, I use one hand to do the shift and the control. So I'm kind of scrambling here, so I apologize. Let's go back here. Isn't it letting me? For some reason, it's not. Oh. Some reason, I don't think it's using it right. Let me paste this copy in here, and let's just create a link here. And one thing that's neat, and again, I usually do things slower, but one of the nice things, there's a couple of ways to do links. Again, this may be, you may know this already, but you can also grab a link. And the great thing about WordPress is that you can easily, instead of, you saw how I did it the old-fashioned way by clicking on the link button, you can also just paste it, and then it creates a link that way. All right, so let's go ahead and update that. Let's jump back over into Elementor. And you can see it, it pulled in. Yeah, so let's go ahead and correct the font weight, and let's change the link color in our global settings. So you can just come in. Fonts. And say we don't like that one, we wanted to change it. We can come in here and we can change them all to red and see it dynamically updates. On the site, let's go back to our body typography. For some reason it's bold. Let's make sure. So that may mean it's something else here. That's strange. I need to find out what that is. Let's go back and look at the template here. Ah, it's listed as subhead. Okay. All right, so now if we want to edit the body, let's go back. And again, these are all things that we all have to sort of work through sometimes, figure out where the issue was. Let's go ahead and we want to change the typography. We want to go really crazy. Again, in keeping with the Old English, we want to make it, we want to transform everything to capitalize. Oh, that should be uppercase, which is definitely something you don't want to do for usability. But anyway, the purpose is that you can go in and make a lot of changes that affect your entire site. So once you build all these components or all these widgets, you can go in and specify things here. The thing that can spoil you though is that you can also affect them on the page unless you sort of turn them into global elements. So again, you have a lot of control, and you also have the flexibility to do some one-offs. When I went through some of the videos for this, they created a template and then they did a derivative on that template. So they created a new page with that template and they went in and changed it and saved that as a template. So you're not locked into what you do here. You can always go ahead and change it. But the great thing is that if you're going to be disciplined about it, or if you have to stick to someone else's design, you can go in and set up this design system, and it applies to everything. And then as the client comes back with changes, or if you feel like, hey, it needs more padding on the sides, et cetera, you can do all that there. So with that, I'm going to open it up for questions or comments. Again, I was sort of scrambling with one hand, and I hope it wasn't too confusing here. But the thing, being a designer, I love systems. So it's great that you can plug in a system and just focus on laying out the specific pages. Our pages have a million different versions. Like some of them have maps, some of them have flowcharts, some of them want interactive data sets. So being able to create these templates and then still having the flexibility to create new templates on top of that is pretty awesome. Thoughts or comments, anyone? Or
why is it still giving you the message that you need to disable the default colors? I thought you did that when you were in the Elementor.
It's weird. I'm not sure why. Let me see. It was when I hit, let's skip, I just closed it by mistake.
No, I mean, isn't that back where in your dashboard Elementor?
You mean here in the site setting? No.
No, when you go all the way back to the dashboard and go to Elementor, isn't that and then go to Elementor and settings.
Oh.
And yeah, oh, you know what? It just didn't save it. I wonder if that may have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if that was causing you any of those glitches.
No, I guess, I guess that I was worried about this because.
Well, that inherits from the theme though, but you don't
Pardon?
have a theme. That inherits it from the theme. You set them up in Elementor.
Yeah.
That's that. Don't check those boxes, and all that stuff will be gone.
No, but no, this one, when you select these, it makes sure that it makes sure that Elementor inherits the colors of your theme. So I think you do want these selected. I think so.
I don't know that I've ever done those boxes, and I do exactly how you do it.
Okay.
I mean, check and see, because if she's right, then that's a step I've missed. And I never have experienced it being wrong. You know, I mean,
Well,
and you know,
it was throwing an error, not an error, but a warning.
that
You
box
have to uncheck them.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought that box coming. I saw that box come up and wondered myself, but I mean, who knows? Let's see.
And Teresa, did you have any questions or comments, or what did you think of
See
the
what you got.
presentation? Again, I feel like
I think you did a great job. I have no questions.
Like I said, I was a little nervous because I usually have, I had surgery in September. So I've had to pre-record a lot of my presentations. So they're a lot more deliberate, but when you do it on the fly and things like, weird things happen.
You crushed it, man. Just see what you get now, though. Let's see what you get. Let's see if it works the way you want it to be.
All right.
That's not how you want it, right? No.
Yeah, it looks like, let's see here. I wonder if it's stripped out. It looks like the Google font changed. Let's see if we can change it back and if that's an issue or if we get that error message. Oops.
It's supposed to be that.
And then you said the error message popped up here, Lynn, or was it at a different point?
Oh, no, I think it's gone. I think it was on top of
Was that
most of the site setting
Okay.
areas, I think.
Yeah, and I think, and like I said, Steve, I'll definitely research it, but I think I usually, I've
Don't
done a
check the
couple
box.
tutorials where they say to check those boxes, but I'll ask them if that impacts what we do in the site settings.
Yeah, let me know, because I don't know that I've ever checked those boxes. I mean, I see them there, and I've only made a couple sites in Elementor. I usually use Astra, so I do go through Astra to make the customizations, right? I don't do it through that, but I've always wondered how to do it if I just want to go through Hello. It's very, same way through Astra, but I just wondered Hello wasn't my bag out of the get, but this is pretty cool, man. Like,
why don't you like it? Because it doesn't have.
Well, I had no idea, because it again, I went from doing it the old school way. I didn't use any page builder, I just was doing it, like classic builder, right? And then I tried it with Hello, and it just was like, what am I trying to do here? Didn't get the whole theme thing, didn't get the whole, like, any of that kit stuff, and then I just saw a video, something on Astra. Well, I put together using like the Elementor canvas where you just do everything like in the 4-hour video, like I said, right? And then so I said, okay, that's great, but I got multi-page sites I want to do. What am I going to do? So then I went to Astra. Of course, and I bought Pro, and I get all the tons of themes and stuff. And that was just great, right? And then everyone's talking about, well, Hello's, not much faster, the same thing. Well, then I learned how to optimize Astra, and now I have fast Astra sites. So really, like, I don't have to, you know what I mean? So it's one of those things where I don't know, I had a couple extra dollars, I guess, and I bought Astra because because Hello was so bare, and I didn't understand all the customization options. And it's one of those things where now what I know, I could do everything in Hello, don't need to go through Astra, but because I got my whole team using Astra, it's hard for me to, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of this stuff I learned I can't really do anything with because that's just not how every one of my sites is built. So.
And I think, and then again, it goes to show, like, everyone has sort of their go-to toolkit that they use. Like, I never used Elementor with Astra, I was always like, Hello had just come out when we started this meetup. So I've never done it that way. Lynn, what do you normally do? What kind of theme do you start with? Do you start with Hello, or do you have your own go-to theme that you like, or how do you build?
Oh, I'm totally Hello.
There you
I mean,
go.
I feel like I'm just like, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid with Elementor and
Oh, I know you said you're 100%, and I was like, wow, this is pretty awesome. Do you do anything in
yeah,
Dallas with Element? Do you do a meetup down there, or you just do your own thing?
I'm sorry.
Are you involved with the meetup, or do you? It sounds
Oh,
like
in
you really want to hear
Dallas?
what you have to say.
An Elementor meetup. Do you have an Elementor meetup?
Yes, we definitely have an Elementor meetup in Dallas, and then who is it? I'm trying to think of his name right off the top of my head. The guy that, I'm sorry?
There's another girl that has like the Dallas WordPress meetup, or is that an Elementor meetup? I go to it.
It's Elementor. Are you thinking about Sharon
Blonde hair girl used to work for
Yates?
AT&T.
No, that didn't ring any bells. So we do have Elementor Dallas. And then through Elementor Dallas, this is probably 3 or 4 or 5 months ago, the guy, oh gosh, I can't remember his name, but the guy that runs, it's another Southern California. I can't remember which one he is, but
is he up in Sonoma Valley or Napa Valley? I know there's one up north that.
Oh goodness, I'm going to show my geographical ignorance. I'm trying to think where he is. But anyways, it was another one of the Elementor guys that runs a meetup over somewhere in California. He was at the Dallas meetup, and he had an interesting topic coming up, and that was the first time I went, oh hey, we are all kind of virtual right now. I can actually go to other meetups. So I started looking at what other Elementor meetups there were around the country, and I even I even signed up for one. It had a fantastic topic. I can't remember what it was until I realized that the entire meetup was going to be in a language that I frankly hadn't even heard of. And I went, oh, wait, that won't do me so much good. Not to mention I'd have to wake up like at 4 a.m. or something to tune in. But no, that's why I'm at your meetup today, because I, kind of realized that during all of the shelter in place that now we have this fabulous opportunity to tune into, a lot of, and I would tell you, I thought your presentation was awesome. I thought the speed was perfect. There's nothing more powerful, in my opinion, than watching someone else work, because you inevitably pick up, you sit there and you go, oh wow, I didn't even know you could click on that. So that's just fabulous to watch you go through those steps, because I actually did pick up on a couple of things that I have not used. So I'm thrilled.
Well, I know, to me, I appreciate having Steve here, because Steve is like the veteran. He's been using Elementor the longest out of anybody that I know. So he always has tips to share as well.
A little. but we're both in the Elementor Dallas group, Joe. Like, I just went there. Sharon Yates, that's the person. Blonde, that's the blonde hair lady that works for AT&T. She works for AT&T.
That's so funny. I knew she used to work for AT&T, but I don't think of her as a blonde. I thought she was a brunette.
It's the blonde hair lady that works for AT&T, and I joined in October, and Joe's been a member for like a year longer. But yeah, I didn't go to this last one because it was about holidays, and it was my kids. We had to like book it to the school to take a quick 5-minute picture for them, because it's all, like you said, shelter in place, and so I booked them out at 5, and it starts, it's 2 hours ahead of us. So, you guys.
And I'm gonna laugh too, because Sharon is actually a good friend of mine. We go to dinner periodically.
Oh, isn't she a blonde hair lady that works for Element that works for AT&T? I don't know.
I know, but I think of her as a redhead. So I'm like, as a blonde, I just thought, huh?
I don't know. Like, I just think what the hell can I tell? I'm an old man, I got glasses and crap. I can't see. And I think you're a blonde hair lady, but maybe you got.
I am blonde. Artificially blonde, but I'm blonde. But no, Sharon, actually, I credit Sharon 100% for introducing me to Elementor. Sharon and I get together routinely for what we call geek meets. It's just the two of us, where we screen share, and we talk to each other about any kind of issues we're currently having, or helping each other solve something that we're doing, or even just she'll find a plugin that she you know, thinks is crazy good. And so we'll jump on a screen share and kind of look at, you know, how it works or compare it to
That
something
sounds
else.
great. I would love
So,
that.
so Sharon's like one of my favorite people on earth. And when you said a blonde woman, I was like, no, that's no one I know.
But she worked for AT&T. I just know that she's a lady that worked for AT&T, and I like that because as I've had AT&T cell phones since cell phones. I mean, it's like since they were like Cellular South and crap. I've always had AT&T phone service, you know, from like landline as a kid, like, you know, in the 60s all the way till now. So like I never went with Verizon or Sprint or any of that. So I've been like an AT&T diehard, and I switched to Spectrum for this internet crap, and I hate it. But yeah, so yeah, I mean,
yeah. So Sharon runs the Dallas Elementor Meetup, and I also missed this week's thing. I'm on a board that meets on, I can't even remember which Tuesday of the month, but you know, I was telling Sharon, I said, I really don't like the idea that my board meeting is interfering with my Elementor participation. But as it turns out, I think Sharon is for 2020, either somehow or another, my board meeting and the Elementor meeting finally got off of the exact same Tuesday of every month. So I'm back to being able to go to her meetups.
Oh, awesome.
So yeah, so Greg Moldovan, is that the name I'm thinking?
Mm-hmm.
Where is Greg? Which meetup is Greg?
I'll look it up here. Hold on. I think, like I said, I think he's in Napa Valley or.
I don't know that one's very. Is that meetup Elementor Meetup in Northern California? Is that a decent one, Joe? Because I've never been to that one.
Well,
you're talking about Greg's?
Yeah, he does a lot of hands-on. He's done
Greg is great. I want to say he did. Really. Greg is great. I'll tell you another one that I love. Is it even proper to be talking about other meetups on a meetup? I mean, we're all sharing information. I think this is phenomenal. But I'll tell you that one of the meetups I really enjoy is the Boulder meetup. Have any of y'all done the Boulder? But I mean, the bottom line is everyone, what?
Chicago Elementor is good. I go to that one. I might be talking to that one like in a couple months. But yeah, I've seen the Boulder one, but there's some conflict. I think it conflicts with like maybe one of my.
They do a weekday like midday thing.
Oh, that's why I don't go. I tried to go one time, and it was like right during like my kid's school. Like it's like 12. It ends up being like 10 or 11 here because it's noon there. It's like 11 to 1.
Sure. But you know, all of them. I mean, you know, just like Joe's doing, they all do videos. Yeah. I mean, everyone, and I can't recall. Joe, what's the system? Is it if I signed up, I'll get the email with the video, or does anyone in the group get the video?
Well, what I normally do is I'll upload it, and then I'll put the link in the event, and then I'll also send out a message. Like this morning, I sent out a message to everybody telling them there was a meeting.
Yeah, I got your message this morning.
I'll do another one with the link to the video. So yeah, so Greg.
Yeah, so where is Greg?
Yeah, he's
Northern California.
Yeah.
That's Northern California. Okay, yeah. I mean, I'm sorry. Silicon Valley, of course.
It's not super northern. It's you know, like San Francisco's like sort of northern. I mean, it's, you know, the north of Central if it's anything, you know. Yeah. But NorCal, we call it NorCal here because anything above Fresno is Northern California.
Yeah, but
so the great thing about Meetup is you can go and just see what all the topics are at the different meetups and selectively. And I have to say, I mean, that's why I ended up at that one that was somewhere else in the world in a different language because it was a great topic. I was like, oh, I really want to see that. Right. And then I was so disappointed that it wasn't in English. So
right. You couldn't understand a damn word they were saying. That's great.
Well, like I said, what, Joe?
What was the topic?
You know, this is like 3 or 4 months ago, so I don't recall, but it was a great topic, whatever it was, you know. And thankfully, I'd gotten the reminder that it was upcoming, and the reminder was in the whatever language it was. That's what first clued me in. I was like, oh, I don't think this is going to help me too much. But you know, there are just so many, you know, like everyone else in this group, I'm sure it's like I just can't absorb enough information. There's just so much that helps, you know, and of course, Sumner ruined my Christmas by telling me we can't change the size of the H1s, but, you know.
Well, you can, but then you're, you know, It really depends on what you're trying to accomplish, but for accessibility, you need to keep it predictable and consistent. So if
Yeah.
accessibility is there, we have a reason that it is that way. And the best part is when you find your creative design by keeping those accessibility standards. So too many times we've relied upon the old way of doing things without realizing that there's a more creative way to get the result we're looking for.
Yeah,
Well,
so
I'm doing something with a, there's a whole section that I want to change the style for that section. Like all of the things that are going on in that section are going to be different. So I don't know why I keep running into that problem.
well, what,
I'm not sure
what
I
would you
understand.
recommend?
I'm not sure what you're doing, so it's hard to make a recommendation.
What, Sumner, let's just say you had one page, like let's say I've got all my H1s, same size, same font, same everything, consistent. I'm using the style guide, but then I hit one page that's a holiday announcement or something.
Yeah.
And for some reason I want to put a holiday font, you know, and make it red for Santa Claus or whatever.
Yeah.
Would you recommend that I keep an H1 with my correct heading and then hide that?
Well, what is the purpose of the H1? The H1 is the most important thing on the page. So is your holiday offering a call to action? Is it something that is just special? Then it should be special. But your H1, the consistency is for cognitive, for people to go to the page and be able to say, that is what is most important on the page. It is consistent throughout the site, so they can cognitively look at it and go, on every page, this is it, now I know. So if you have something that is a holiday special, that usually is something that's more of a call to action and more of a special event. That why would you make that your H1?
All right. Well, Sumner, let me transition to another question though. As a Divi person, are you just seeing what's out there, or are you comparing the products, or what are you looking to get from a meetup like this, or what?
Well, since we get websites that are brought to us through people that are either facing litigation or afraid of litigation, and they're built on every platform that's available and every theme that's out there. I personally want to learn as much as I possibly can about each builder, each theme, so that I can have a better understanding when I see one and say, oh, this is what's happening and this is what they did and this is how it could be done differently. But if I don't understand the builder or how a theme is functioning, then it's hard for me to make recommendations when someone says, hey, this is what I'm doing, where do I fix it? I don't have all the answers. I know I can reach out to different people for answers when someone says how to fix, but I can recognize when there is a problem on a site.
Awesome. All right.
Oh, I have another question. I just realized about your presentation.
Uh-huh.
How are you setting the middle section when you're for the vertical height? How will you tell it? Are you adding your 10% and your 20%, and then the middle? You're also going to tell the middle section
70.
Go to 70.
Yeah, it's got a total 100.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you would also go in and set that middle.
Yeah, and actually I was racing to try to get it so I could show some of the changes. But yeah, I would create a master container that was 70 and then drop the other elements within that.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and so I guess next, one thing that I don't want to sort of pigeonhole the meetup, but I'm trying to learn a lot about design. So I want to continue on this path maybe in the upcoming meetups. And I was wondering if there's any topics that anyone's interested in learning more about in Elementor that we could sort of do in the next few meetups.
Maybe this week I'll run into an issue and I'll throw it at you and see. Because I mean, I always have like some get up and I'll be like, damn it, and it'll irritate me, and then I'll work some workaround on it, and I'll say I should have filmed that video real quick, or I wonder if this would be something worth talking about. But I probably run into like 10 of those a week. So maybe we could put 10 of them on maybe we could just solve all 10 of them in an hour, because it don't take that long. Like once I figure out how to do it, it's like, oh, this is really neat. Like there's this issue, like if you have accordions on a page, right? we got a contact page for multiple locations, right? So when you click 3 locations, it'll take you to the contact page and it'll open up the accordion, right? Well, we wanted the accordion to be closed, and then we wanted the anchor menu to open up the accordion. Well, that requires you to put this little bit of code in there, and that's how you do it. And I solved it by going to a YouTube video, finding the YouTube video and putting it in there. Well, now I have that in one of my sites, so I've answered it because I'm an Elementor Redditor, on a subreddit for Elementor on Reddit, and so people have asked that question. I've been able to solve it for them by saying, "Hey, here's the video," right? But the code looks like this on this working site, right? And stuff like that would be cool. The little tidbit stuff, because
I agree.
Sure, building a theme is bitching, and it's nice to know how to do this because that's supposedly that's why Elementor 3 is so cool, right? Because you can do that. And then you can save the sections, like I said, as JSON and pull them out and, rename them and pull them in, right? And it's good to go, right? Or put them in a folder that has what you're trying to do in it, and then pull it in as the Elementor name. So, but yeah, I mean, something like that would be great.
Oh, that's
because
great.
You'd be the only one doing that, because everybody else in Elementor is not doing that. Talk about like how to do SEO and
yeah,
like that.
I mean, to me, and that's what I was trying to, like, I like to focus on the design stuff, because a lot of folks, you do need the features, but it seems like not a lot of the other meetups are doing like design oriented topics. But then, like I said, I don't want to sort of pigeonhole our group. I want to keep
Well, no, the design is cool. And also things like, like simple, like you've been using it for a minute when I say, hey, just do that little navigator thing, right? And then, it was like in March or April or whatever. And you've been using it for a minute, but people don't think about it. Like, because if you're not told what that little navigator thing is and the power of using it over there on the right, and able to like move the sections around and do whatever you have to do in it, people don't know it's there. And, you can delete from there. You can do all kind of cool things, and then like, so you can compare and contrast like Ultimate Elementor, the UAE one from Brainforce, and then like the other one from WP Dev or whatever it's called. There's a couple plugin packages like Pionet, and I mean there's a couple, and I probably have a license for all of them, and I could like send you the licenses, say here's 3, like you could just load up a site and use my pro licenses for them all, and we can do a comparison on some of those plugin packages, because that's also another question that comes up all the time, like on Reddit. They'll say like, what's the best plugins for Elementor? Like what I'm choosing between.
Are you on the Facebook Elementor sites? There's one that is just recommended.
Yeah. A lot of the questions there are the same, like asked by the same people on Reddit too.
Reddit.
So it's the same thing. And I remember a couple months, maybe this year, I don't know when it was, some guy on Reddit says, yeah, they're asking the same question on WordPress. And I said, oh yeah, what's that? Because I was answering the question for the guy. And I said, what's that, the link? So he puts it on there, and I went to Facebook and I'm in it. I'm like, oh, I'm in the damn group. And I didn't even see the thing. But, because Facebook, I got like so much going on there. I can't even, I use that more for marketing for my clients. If I'm on there,
I've gotten some great tips from the Facebook group. When I'm struggling with problems, they'll help me.
Find that same stuff in Reddit. I mean, because
Really?
The guy said that guy was obviously one of the person like you, where he was in both like often, and he said do the same. Like it's the same questions, and maybe they're asked on Facebook a week earlier, but we were all going through like the same development of things, because I think it's because it's expanding and the usage rate is expanding, getting more, because like these groups are getting bigger. And so as these groups get bigger, more people are using it, they're trying to explore more things. And, we find out like, oh, everybody gets the same spot where Joe was like, oh my gosh, I can't get this text right. And then we go through the problem. We go, oh man, we've never been there before. Because if we've never done it before, in like the public use, I mean, I guess the guys at Elementor have done it before, but like we have, like this guy probably done it before. That's Verdi Hines guy, but I'm far from Verdi Hines. Like I'm light years behind this guy. So
that's a great point, and I think Verdi, we initially talked about doing an Ask Me Anything, which is sort of along the lines of what you're talking about in terms of looking at 15 or so tips or tricks with Elementor, which I think would be great also. I think he may do a business topic, but he is going to come in next month. But then I still want to do a hands-on
Yeah.
thing for next month also. So
yeah, because like if you took the plugin, like I said, if you took the plugins, I said, and you had like three sites for 3 different plugins, or even comparing the 2, like it's and then there's another one that my partner and I used, and he pulled it in there because it had an Instagram. The free version had an Instagram deal, you know, whereas the other ones that he was just using the free one, like Ultimate Add-on and whatever the Pro, whatever the other set was, he didn't have the licenses for.
okay.
So when I started taking over, you know, when the site started coming under the control of my company, I said, I have the Pro license for these 2 things. Bam, bam, bam. What do we got this plugin for? You know, and he was like, oh, because that had the Instagram feed. Well, no, the Instagram feed's here now, right? Because you know, because the Pro version of, say, plugin 1 set has the Instagram feed, but the free version doesn't, and the free version of this one does. So, you know, there's some comparing and some contrasting, and there's people that don't want to pay for the plugins, which, you know, that there's a you know a whole argument about that too that we don't have to get into. But I mean, that's an ethics thing. You know, if I tend to pay for them just because if I'm using them.
Yeah, I think. I mean,
they're paying me to do their site, right? And they're paying me every month, so I could give a guy $100 for a year or whatever. It doesn't bother me, you know. I mean, my Elementor thing's $150 a year because I bought at 200. You know, 3 years ago I paid $200 for it. Now I renew it 150, and I did it so early that I don't have any limitations on sites. So like I'm not tripping.
Cool. All right. Well, with that, I'm going to sort of wrap it up because these things can go.
Yeah, we got plenty of done.
Already getting close to 45 minutes over, but I always appreciate everyone for showing up.
Great meetup, Joe. Did a good job.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I mean, I know.
And your name's brought up all the time, by the way, in all these other meetups. People mention Joe Simpson all the time. Like,
well, that's not
seriously. If they really do, bro, I'm not even kidding. Like, I'm always laughing because I'm like, I know that guy, and they really do. They say they say like, I tell them I'm from Southern California. Oh, there's a really good one in Southern California. It's Joseph A. Simpson, and then they say, if you want to do, and this is no kidding, this is how you know I'm not BSing you. And they say, and if you're into accessibility, there's this lady there. What's her name? And I'm always like, oh, you mean Sumner Davenport? Yeah. Well, her meetup's good too. So I'm telling you, the 2 of you get a lot of are in enough meetups or whatever you guys have done in the short amount of time that I've been aware of you both. You just are cool to me. So, but everybody, I'm talking about from Chicago to Australia to freaking New Jersey, like all of them. Like I'm in these meetups. I mean, you see me, Joe, and these weird ones you didn't think I was going to be in, and I'm not playing, like, because this is when I can do it, right? Because it's here, and this is where I'm sitting in my office all the time. So, and I got my kids, so I'm on lockdown. So where am I going to go? So, and if I'm taking a break, if I'm not in the middle of doing solving a problem or something on a site, or in the middle of creating one, in a meetup scene, I'm just going to go to it. So I flip into them, and hey, I'm from Southern California, and this is what's going on, and sometimes I've dropped your name first. Oftentimes they start talking about accessibility. I said, well, in California, we got a big problem with that because, we always got the problem with everybody being a jackass. And there's this lady, Sumner Davenport, you should go to the meetup. And, they're doing one here. Or, Joe's got this one that's going to be meeting every, 3rd Saturday for 4 hours about doing accessibility. I throw the link at them. So I'm telling you, whatever you guys are doing.
All right. Well, hey, Teresa, so how can we pull you back next month? What can we do for you next month?
Oh, I want to go to all these. I forget about them. This time it really worked because of those reminders that you were sending. So you can do that again.
Okay.
Cool. That really helped me. And I also wondered if you, so if I don't happen to attend the meeting, will I get the link to the recording?
Yep, I send it to everybody. You do have the ability as the meetup organizer to send it to whoever said yes to the meeting, but I always send it to everybody just in case, because we have one gentleman, when we used to do it at the coffee shop, he was always there, but now he can't for whatever reason. It could be because of COVID and he needs to hustle a little more. He always asks for the video before the meetup even happens. So there's quite a few people that get it just through the video. So I'm going to make sure it goes out to everybody. Cool.
Well, and I'll save up some questions for you if you're going to do it.
Awesome.
Yeah, this
All right.
has been great. Thank you so
Yeah, and
much.
Yeah, and I
Okay.
think the thing that was a common thread today, folks were saying, like Lynn was saying, she had someone that she meets offline with and talks about, like Sumner's that person for me. And, you know, Steve and I,
Oh,
we
really?
crossed paths way back at a WordCamp. So it's all those relationships now that they're virtual. Now people can spend more time because you're not on the road, or I'm not in my car, or I'm not on a train. So that
Right.
extra time is quality time now. So that's awesome.
Yep.
Could I ask Sumner a really quick question? It's not really related to Elementor, but I wondered when you were talking about documentation, how do you go about doing what are you using for that?
Well, we work in Slack, we work in Basecamp, we work in Asana, but when we're doing a live document, we're using a Word doc so that it can show who was the last person that contributed, what time did they contribute, what change did they make. So we keep it as simple as possible in order to do that. Now, in our documentation in my library, I will have one document, one Word doc that is the main document of a folder in a theme, and it says this is the first time we used it, and it actually will tell me every time we use that theme. All the JSON files that work with that theme are in there, and the Word doc explains why this particular JSON file. So I know my memory is going to be great at the moment I'm working on it, but then 6 months down the road, I'm going to go, okay, why did I use that on that page? And why was that important? So I'm just a real stickler, have been probably my whole life, to do that. So when you start finding one that works for you, then just keep doing it. And at some point you have your own library of information. You know, it was mentioned that I work a lot in Divi. I have a folder of Divi that has Notepad and Notepad 2 files that are snippets of code. So when I go into a site, I go, okay, I know that it's going to be there. Here's the snippet of code to fix just that issue. And we do that because my company mostly does remediation. We do that with every theme. So if we get a theme a second time, we can go into the folder and go, okay, there's something that's inherent in the theme. Let's just take that line of code and fix it. So I'm all about saving time. So that to me, that documentation does it for me.
Yeah, I always think I'm gonna remember, but then I'll realize I have no idea what I did there. So
heck, I can't remember what I had for breakfast yesterday. How am I supposed to remember the code I wrote last week? So
well, that's a great way to do it. I mean, I just have them all in a Dropbox folder for each like site, you know, like the site and then all the stuff that I've used on that site. But I mean, I don't specifically have it as nice as you do, and I think I might have to move in that route because I find the discipline to do it. My problem is always like I finish it, it's so close to deadline time, you know, and I'm just like so done with it half the time, and I'm like, okay, toast, like I'm done, publish, you know, and then I don't take the time to document out the.
Well, I do the documentation and it goes in the cloud because there's too many instances throughout the years that a computer has crashed. So if I kept it on that computer and to try to go back and find what my work was, I'm in trouble. So as I'm working along, I'm keeping that live document in the cloud, and it's a save, and it's always open. And then when I'm done, it's saved, it's closed, the client side is saved, it's closed, it's backed up. Everything is off the local computer and in the cloud. And that, again, before COVID, I used to do a lot of traveling. It gave me the option to be able to access what I needed. If I was sitting in the client's office and say, wait a minute, I got to check what we did over here, I could access it. So that's just my way of keeping my stress level down. Is how can I set up some sort of a process and procedure that helps me? What stresses me out the most is when I go, okay, where was it? What did I do? I know it's here. I don't know where. And I'll make myself just very highly stressed by those words alone. So that's really where it came about. So you find whatever way works for you, and then just discipline yourself to stick to it. And
Well,
I think you'll like it.
Gotta pull that. I mean, everything. Even my local sites, like on Map and stuff, are on Dropbox, so it's all there. You know, I can get it. That's the cloud for me. I mean, I have everything else, OneDrive and Google Drive, but I use Dropbox mostly. And my problem is I just don't keep that Word doc, like you said, the Word doc open, and I don't take a time. You know, I don't even have that document. I just put the JSON. Like if I say this is a cool section of an Elementor thing, I just save it, right? And or if I think I'm going to use it maybe for the next client that I have coming up or the next project, then I'll save it. Else I have to go back to this, remember what site it's on, and go back, search the 30, 40, 50, 60 sites I have through Manage WP, go through them, check them, find out, oh, that's the one. Go over there. Oh, no, that's not the one. Oh, that maybe is the one, right? And go back and try to find it and export it. If I did exactly what you said, I wouldn't even need the JSON files because you can export those things in Elementor really fast. You just go to the site, pick it out, pull it out. You know, I could just put a little, if there's a trick, you know, and I'm not talking about everything basic stuff. I'm talking about like for instance, you know, I got a picture on top of a picture kind of thing, you know, the cool,
Absolute
you know,
positioning and stuff.
popular, something like that, and I have some text on there. Then I don't have that saved right now. I know what page it's on the one senior moving site I have, and or I could get pretty close to it. It's on an Orange County thing, and I could find one of the Orange County cities we targeted. And I could find it, but that's how long it would take me. You would just go to your thing, type in a search word, you know, and say the overlapping pictures, you know, boom, and you find it, bam, it'd be right there. I mean, you could do a keyword search on that. That's what I got to move to because. And you just gave me the way to do it, and I appreciate that because if there's a thing all day that I learned there, it's that, and the confirmation that the way I thought you'd do it and the way I do it in Astra is the way I would do it if I was using Hello from Joe just now, and so those are great for me. I'm gonna pass them along to this guy I know on the East Coast because I'm sure he doesn't know those things yet. So that's cool. I appreciate it.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I think the thing too, most people work for themselves, so they don't set up these systems. But if you want to do things faster and sort of make more money per dollar, you know, more money per minute, you need to start automating that stuff or documenting it.
Absolutely.
Well, to me, this is something I have done since way back when it was just me, when I didn't have a team of people, when I, you know, I mean, because again, for me, I get so focused on what I'm doing and then I'm done. And then I get focused on the next project and I go, well, wait a minute. Yesterday I thought I did. And for me, it was just my way of being able to make my world easier. And I make sure that the document is on auto save all the time. So if I'm entering something in that Word doc and then I move away from it, it auto saves so I don't have to remember. And if I accidentally close it, it auto saved.
That's fire. Yeah.
But
Got that auto save going on because I, like, as a graduate student, so many times, I mean, I can remember, you know, writing my dissertation, my master's thesis a couple times where I didn't save something and, you know.
We've all been there. And then plus most of my clients, we finish the work and they're gone. So I can't go back to their site and go, oh, let me download that file again. No, they're gone. They're out of here. So I want to save the files because they're great educational tools and I use them in my workshops to show people how things are done. And to re-educate myself on, I know I fixed this somewhere. How did I do it?
Right.
Oh, it required a line of code. Oh, it required deleting a plugin. Oh, it was, you know, I don't want to have to remember everything in my head because my joke is this brain gets so full, it starts falling out the other side.
Right.
Cool.
So anyway,
All
I'm
right.
glad it helped.
Merry Christmas, y'all.
Yeah, I know. Happy holidays, everyone. And thanks for showing up. This is a great meetup.
Have a good one.
Thanks, Joe. Learned a lot.
Yeah, man.
Awesome.
So glad I finally made it. Thank you.
I know. I'm glad to have you.
Hit the next one.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye, folks.